Good morning, everyone. Give everyone a few minutes to get in the room here. I did put a poll up on your screen, so please answer that when you get a chance. I know we are going to be getting some, well, I shouldn't say we, y'all are going to be getting some extreme cold, at least several of you, I'm assuming. I'm in Arizona, so the coldest we get is maybe like 60 at this time of year. But I know for my friends and family back in Wisconsin, where I'm originally from, it is brutally cold. We have some team members in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, things like that, and they just keep sharing how brutal it is out there. So would love to see what the temperature is going to be like for you. And also, while you're piling in today, I put this on the screen. So the reason I put this on the screen, I shared this yesterday on Facebook, but Facebook has me in their little jail right now where my reach is not very good. So what I did is I put this on some other Facebook groups as well. This is something I shared. You guys can see the date on the screen back in 2019. I think this is extremely relevant for any of you that are experiencing very cold weather, especially if it's unseasonably cold. Um, I think like in Wisconsin, there's like stories about exploding trees. I've never heard of that before, but apparently that's a thing. But feel free to take a screenshot of this, use this on any AI or large language model tool. Claude is my preferred tool, but use whatever one you want. Make it work for you and put this on your personal profile and then share it to every single buy, sell, trade, local Facebook group, next door. Put it on your personal profile, share it everywhere. As you can see, so I did this back in 2019 and this got shared almost 1,000 times. It ended up making its way all across the country. I saw a lot of people reposting this and sharing it back 6-ish years ago, almost exactly 6 years ago. So go ahead and actually almost 7 years ago now, but go ahead and share this and save something like this. We get only a couple opportunities every single year to be the leader in your market. And this is really an opportunity for you to be that person or that company that people look to. The things that you'll notice in this really isn't part of this whole presentation, but I want to lead with some extreme value here for you guys is don't focus on getting service calls with this. Focus on helping as many people in your local community as possible. So that's really the goal of this. And that's why I put this front and center before any of the other slides that go with today's presentation. All right. With that being said, this webinar is probably going to be about an hour and a half. So stick with me. We're going to be going over a lot of stuff because there's a lot of changes and a lot of things I want to make sure that I cover with you guys. And when or if you have questions, drop those in the chat and I will go over those at the end of the webinar. This webinar is also recorded. So if you get called out or miss something or your internet goes out, don't worry, it is recorded. We will send a copy of this to you and it will live on our YouTube channel, which is called Trades Marketing Mastery. So feel free to add or subscribe to that channel and you'll be able to see any updates that we put out there. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and get started here. All right, so this is the goal for today is we're going to fix and understand a proper marketing funnel. And we're going to talk about why that's so important because this is a concept that's missing in the trades from a lot of the conversations I see. We're going to help you set clear goals and targets for the year and help you figure out how you're going to reach those. We're also going to map out your marketing strategy. And we're going to talk about the big behemoth or the big elephant in the room, which is AI search taking over and what we should plan for in 2026. So the goal is to set you up with massive success, and we have a ton of really valuable, we worked really hard to put the most valuable free resources available to you in this, so you'll have a chance to scan those QR codes and get shown where those are later in the webinar. All right, so quick, let's put another poll in here. What industry do you serve? The reason I ask this question is I want to know so I can try to take some of the content, some of the slides that we have out there and personalize them as much as possible for whoever is in the room. So go ahead and drop that in the chat when you have a second. All right, we got Alexandra is in plumbing. Carol, HVAC. Carol, I'm glad to see that we got the webinar working for you. Noreen, 43 degrees in HVAC. Hi, Ali. Ali's HVAC, HVAC, HVAC. Okay, so we're going to have a lot of heating, cooling, and plumbing, it looks like today. Eric, nice to see you here. Roofing. Vivian, HVAC, more roofing. David, you might have to explain, is Roof Rejuvenation, is that the name of your company, or is that just like a service that you offer inside of roofing? Hi, Roshnell. Good to see you here. HVAC. Is it getting cold down in Florida? I know some areas of Florida and Georgia got snow recently, which was kind of crazy to see. Aiden, HVAC, welcome. Awesome. So HVAC, roofing, plumbing. Fantastic. I can definitely work with that today. All right. So if you don't know who I am, I've been in the industry almost 13 years now. 9 years on the actually running HVAC companies, and then the better half of the last almost 6 years with Relentless Digital. There was some time there that I did both while I started Relentless Digital, still working in the trades. So we've done a lot of cool things, and our big focus is always education and bringing complex marketing topics and breaking them down so you guys can all understand what is out there. And because there's a lot of hype right now around a lot of things. So we need to make sure that we actually understand what those things are so we don't get sold something that's not real. All right, so let's start with the biggest marketing trends of 2026. I think most of you guys probably feel this first one. Bottom of funnel costs keep rising. And we're going to talk a little bit more about funnels, but bottom of funnel means when somebody needs you today. So let's use the example of it's extremely cold. That's my furnace is broken. I need someone out today. That's bottom of funnel when it comes to that. So those costs keep rising because there's been a lot of private equity purchasing all sorts of home service companies. And of course, they have bigger pockets to throw money at those sorts of things. So how can we prevent and fix some of our marketing higher up in the funnel? Consumers are researching across more channels than ever before calling you. Marketing automation is not going away. It's growing in importance. I've actually seen a lot more people even asking about how they can do marketing automation. AI is really starting to take over follow-up and it says discovery, but follow-up and qualifying leads. Pricing transparency is becoming a competitive advantage. We're going to talk about some of the changes that we've seen online with pricing transparency and online estimates. And then operational efficiency is your new marketing edge. These are the questions we're going to answer today. So why do I keep spending more on marketing? Or why does it feel like I spend more on marketing, but I'm not growing faster? How do I build demand instead of just competing for it? Meaning, instead of competing at the bottom of the funnel where a lot of those dollars are getting spent, how do I build my own demand whenever I want it? What's killing my marketing ROI before leads even reach my techs? And what's the right marketing mix and budget for your business? And I'm going to have some great free tools for you to be able to put your numbers in and spit out a budget for yourself. All right, so let's talk about the funnel. So most contractors I talk to, most I see in Facebook groups, even ones that we have conversations in person at events, they're stuck on this treadmill that feels like you're moving forward, but a lot of times we're actually just kind of staying in the same spot. And our goal is to get you off of this treadmill so you're actually moving your business forward, especially now that we are in this post-COVID era where financing jobs has gotten harder in some markets. Homeowners are not spending as much. The housing market is stagnant. There's not a lot of positive takeaways when it comes to an overall macroeconomic scale. So when that happens, which it has happened in the past, some of us may just not have had a business at that point, we have to do things differently than we did before. And here are some of the big challenges that we run into that also prevent that growth. And I know when I ask people one-on-one, a lot of people are like, well, we never miss a call. We never miss a lead. We always answer 100% of our phone calls. The problem is somewhere along the lines, either we're acting based off of feelings, not facts. This is just not true. We manage somewhere in the ballpark of During slower months, probably 35, 40,000 phone calls, and busier months, 70 to 80,000 phone calls, where our team is manually tagging calls, checking to see if it was actually answered, checking to see if it was a qualified lead or a not qualified lead. And the truth is, across all those entire data set, 15-ish, so usually it's like 14 to 16% of phone calls are missed. So if out of every 100 phone calls, 14 to 16 of them are missed, and that's the average company that we work with. And then that doesn't even get to the next drop-off point, which is, okay, now we answered the phone and it was a qualified lead. Our average client is only booking about 55% of those. So now of the 85 answered, we only have maybe 40 or so that are actually getting booked that are qualified. So you could see where there's a lot of holes in the marketing bucket, and it's on an operational level. And I just want to make that very clear. I'm not saying everybody has this problem, but I am saying a majority of home service companies have this problem. And then we go one step further, and now we have another hole with our technicians close at, let's say, I don't know the average because we don't have access to that data, but my guess would be anywhere between 50 and 70% for some companies. So that's another hole where we're missing opportunity. And then when we have jobs we went out to and we left estimates that don't get closed, that's another hole. So by the end of that 100 leads, you really only have maybe 15 or 20 that are actually paying you for service. So in order to keep filling your bucket, you have to keep purchasing new leads, new opportunities, do more marketing, put more effort in with very little return, because out of the next 100, you're only going to get 15 to 20 to buy from you. And your ROI can change drastically if you start booking, selling 5 more, 10 more of those 100 customers. It changes drastically for your business. And the reason I bring this up is when I was at Professional Services, I was the person that was in charge of marketing and the operations of the business. So I was very acutely aware of all of these things. And our marketing spend as a percentage of revenue was about 2.5 to 2.75% year over year, which is very low for the trades. And we grew at 40 to 50% year over year when I was there. It's because we were so tight operationally that we didn't have to go out and go buy a bunch of customers. We just took care of the people that came in, and we made sure that every step of that process was dialed in. So if there's one takeaway I want you guys to get from this, is focus on the things that you can control internally and start digging in. Listen to phone calls right along with text. If you have a software like Rilla or Xero, use that and actually understand what's going on in those calls so you can fix and book and sell more. All right. We talked about marketing funnel. So this is what a typical marketing funnel looks like. I broke it down into about the simplest way possible. Top of funnel is just awareness. These could be things like branding or, and really this is where homeowners just become aware of a problem. Like, let's say they've been in a new house for a year or two. They've never gotten their system checked. Hey, how often should I do maintenance? They start looking for questions and they start having questions that they want answered because they don't really know. So they start looking at the top of the funnel. And this is also comes kind of where AI search is become heavily here, is in the awareness stage. Consideration is where somebody's actually starting to consider hiring someone. So they're looking at things like pricing, or maybe they start looking around at who's a good brand or who's a good company to hire. And then the decision stage, this is where a lot of us spend most of our budget, is I want the people who have a broken system right now or need a replacement right now. And there's just not that many. And that's why the funnel is set up this way, because there's a lot more people out there than actually need to purchase from you today. And that's why the funnel looks like that. So the biggest mistake that I see when contractors are working their way through the funnel is that we're putting all of our money here in the decision stage. And there's really only, and some of you guys may have seen these stats out there, and I don't have anything to verify this data, but typically it's only about 3% of your market that actually needs something somewhat soon and is in the decision stage. So that leaves 97%, a huge majority, in either the awareness or the consideration stage for your services. And this is the thing. This is what bigger brands understand. They understand that not everyone is their customer today. So they're going to nurture them along the way. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you can get people in the awareness stage down to consideration, down to decision. So the awareness stage we talked about, this is branding, this is social media content, this is even your personal Facebook, where some of you guys probably follow some of the stuff I put out. It's just bringing awareness to the problems and solutions that you offer. So that way, when they get down to the decision stage, they remember or think of you. It's much better and much cheaper for you overall if they think of you and your company versus go to Google and type in insert service repair near me or whatever that looks like. So just keep that in mind. It's definitely a lot cheaper for you guys. It is also harder to do because you have to be very consistent and there's a lot of extra time put into this. You're not going to get immediate results on things like TV, radio, branding, but the results will come later after people see you over and over and over again. Then as we get down to the consideration stage, these are things like we talk about free resources that we're going to give away in this webinar. Those are things that we do on our ads all the time. So we do Facebook ads. We run video ads for awareness. Anyone that watches a certain length of one of our videos, we send them, we put them in a retargeting audience, and we send them one of, I think we have 10 or 12 free guides, so we can test which ones get the best click-through rate and the best download rate. Then we retarget them to make a decision to book a call with us. That's kind of a broad example from what we do is how we get people to be aware of us, then to start considering us because we continue to bring value to their life before we have them make a decision to decide whether they want to book a call with us or not. And as we talked about, decision is the last step. So a couple more tips here. This is, again, social media, video content, which I know has grown in the trades, but there's still not enough of this from, especially on the local market side. Community involvement and local visibility. So things like supporting, let's say you want to take your team out to lunch, take them to a downtown spot where all your trucks are visible. Make sure everybody sees it. Take pictures of that, put it online. That sort of visibility, supporting your local community in any way possible can be really valuable to just make people aware of your solution and who you are. In the consideration stage, these are things like website optimization, your reviews, your reputation online, video testimonials, pictures of happy customers with yard signs, your educational content, frequently asked question type stuff, which if you guys are recording your calls and recording your sales calls or your calls with your techs, you should be able to extract questions from those and answer them on your website, answer them on your social media, answer them on Nextdoor, answer them everywhere that somebody can find you. And then I did mention retargeting. This is an area where, let's say they visited your website up here after something, we want to retarget them again and kind of follow them around the web. And then the decision stage, this is pay-per-click, this is local service ads, Google business profiles, and SEO. This could also be like Bing ads or anywhere that you can try to find someone to book an appointment today. So hopefully that explains what the marketing funnel looks like. So you guys can kind of see just internally thinking about your business. Where am I weak? Where am I not spending any time, effort, or budget? I love this quote. I actually used this at our in-person team event last week. We flew our team members out to Arizona. And when we were doing our goal setting and our growth strategy for 2026, this quote from Maya Angelou I use a lot is you can't really know where you're going until you know where you've been. And not enough, I think a lot of times we focus on the problems in front of us and we don't reflect back enough to figure out what went wrong and what went right. So we know what should we double down on if it went right, and what should we remove or change or course correct that went wrong. So we have to reflect and spend some time reflecting in order to do that. So in the chat, it looks like we got some team members on here too. Awesome. So what's one thing For your business, it can be marketing, it can be sales, it can be operations, anything that comes to mind when you're asked this question. What is one thing that actually moved the needle for your business in 2025? Put that in the chat when you get a sec. It could be things such as you made a key hire, you got rid of someone that was hurting your culture. It could be something operationally. It could be a new tool that you started using. It could be a new marketing avenue that you explored and went really well for you. What was one thing that moved the needle for you? And the reason I asked this question and want you guys to put it in the chat is so that way you guys can all learn from each other as well, because there's a lot of power in synergizing with other people who are like-minded. So Julia put new location. I know that's something that we work on a lot. For us, it was at the end of 2025, it was bringing in someone who is a reputation management specialist and getting tons of reviews for clients in a very short period of time, which has worked tremendously well for us. Carol says reviews. Noreen, systematically building number of reviews. Okay, so reputation seems to be pretty important. Brant said tightening up overhead and training techs weekly. That is an awesome one, Brant. Happy to hear that. Caleb, getting the right people on our team and down in our processes. Love that. Without the right people in the right seats, the bus will not move forward very quickly. That's awesome, Cher. Thank you. Aiden said pictures of happy customers. I love that. That is something that we did at Professional Services, and customers loved it. We took that a little further and we did yard sign contests. We would have people, when I announced it on Facebook or through email, literally just call into the office, be like, hey, can I get another yard sign so I can be part of the contest and support you guys? So you can do some really cool things with that. Zach said Bullseye Pro helping generate consistent reviews. That's kind of what I was talking about. Zach, I think you just started with the Reputation Engine service that we just launched. Processes, love it. Love it. Really good stuff, guys. And what I want you guys to notice, we're obviously talking about marketing, we're talking about growth, but for those that didn't comment, look at what other people are focused on and what were the biggest thing that moved the needle for them. Write down one that is something you have not focused on and put an extreme, relentless focus on that. So on the flip side, what is one thing you should have quit doing sooner? Again, this could be people. This could be a marketing avenue. This could be a technology that you used. What is one thing you should have quit doing sooner in 2025? Jessica, welcome. It's good to see you on here. I saw you sign up yesterday and email with you. And it's good to see you because I didn't realize that you were part of the old million dollar plumber group that we did a webinar for like 6 years ago. It's good to see you. But she said, let go of team members. D. Thompson said culture build. I'm assuming that's what went well. Bob also had tech training for what went well. Alexandra, fire people. It looks like, okay, so we're seeing a consistent theme here on things that you should have quit doing sooner. So my question, and this is more of a rhetorical question for those that put that in, others that are probably thinking the same thing, is how can we identify the traits and the symptoms of a bad team member before it starts affecting the rest of our team? Just an important question to start considering, because this is something that we had a little bit of trouble with this in the middle of summer last year. Our first head of paid search didn't work out, and it got kind of weird and bizarre when he left. We also hired a second onboarding person right at the same time, and we just didn't. There were some things that we had to fix as far as processes and systems and training, so that way we could expand our team. And just there are a few customers that were affected during that time, which hurt our churn. So it's important for you guys to identify those things. Lakeshore said PPC. Chelsea said pausing ads when busy and restarting ads when slow, smart. Yep, that's definitely something, because that's when your organic presence, if done well, can really take off and cut your marketing budget. Aiden, reach out to me after this. I'll tell you about the yard sign competition. Dumping resources into people who aren't hungry for success. Hold on to C players too long. So it looks like we have a very consistent theme of the things we should have quit doing sooner. And these are things that no matter what, Nobody is irreplaceable. So just keep that in mind. Like, I know sometimes it's hard. Like, I got to have this person to go run these calls. It's not true. I know it makes your life harder in the interim, but long term, it's typically a better thing that you release them to new opportunities, as Tersh would say. All right, so let's talk goals for 2026. And we're going to use AI to help craft your plan. Now, I won't say that this is the absolute best prompt I could have put together, but it is a prompt I wanted to share with you guys so you guys can start your brainstorming. So go ahead, take a screenshot of this, throw it into ChatGPT or Claude or Grok. Personally, for analysis, I love Claude. I think it does a much better job, but use whatever tool you want, or just copy and paste this and save it, send it to your email so you can look at it later. Because what this is going to do is this is going to, once you put this prompt in, it's going to ask you questions that you have to answer so you can actually figure out what those things are and use your knowledge with AI to help develop a marketing program for you in 2026. All right. Next, again, and I apologize if some of this feels fast. We have a lot of slides to get through. So I just want to make sure anything you need, take a screenshot, drop it in a Slack channel or a Google Drive, wherever you like to store your notes, because I can't slow down too much. Otherwise, you guys will be with me all day. And I'm sure you have more important things to do than do that. So metrics to track. Take a screenshot of this. There are obviously hundreds of metrics you could track. I'm talking, the reason I put these on here, these are the most important ones to track on a regular basis. From these, you can probably go 2 or 3 levels deeper if you want, but if you don't have any of these tracked, you can't go deeper. So start by tracking these things. And if you don't know how to track them, reach out. I will show you, I'll give you a formula or a way to help track these things, because there are ways with most of the field service management softwares out there that you can track this information, and you can do it. You can automate it. You can take data from your CRM or your field service management software, automate it to a Google Sheet, and then have a formula in there that automatically tracks some of these things for you. These are more questions to ask yourself. If we were doing this on a small session where it was just a few of us in person, I would ask you to write these things down, but these can be things that you guys can reflect back on. I'll just highlight a couple of them. Feel free to take a screenshot. How much revenue will your company generate this year? Now, theoretically, I shouldn't have asked that question first, because we need to know how many calls, how many qualified leads, what our average ticket, what our booking rate, what are those metrics in order to reverse engineer the revenue goal. So when I did our year-end planning for Relentless Digital, I took the number of leads. We use a little bit different classification. We go from leads to marketing qualified leads to sales qualified leads to number of new clients. I took that, and then I figured out where I want to get to, and then how many more leads do we need to accomplish that? How many more marketing qualified leads, et cetera, et cetera. And then what does the budget need to look like in order for me to hit those things based on where our leads came from last year? So those are really the things that you really want to focus on, but these questions will get you in the ballpark to figure those things out. So feel free to take a screenshot or copy paste these. All right. Elephant in the room time. Everybody is talking about AI. AI this, AI that. There's a bazillion AI tools. I'm sure bazillion is definitely the technical term for how many there are, but there are a lot of AI search engines taking. So are they taking Google's market share? And that's really the question, is who's going to win the race? This is almost like back in the Yellow Page days, where Yellow Pages was king. We know everybody thought that nobody was going to take over the Yellow Pages. And then Yahoo came about, and Google and Bing and some of these other search engines. And Google ended up winning the war, and they've been dominant for the last 25 years. So are things changing, and is AI taking Google's market share? Now, there's a lot of people that have a lot of opinions and a lot of feelings about this. I'm going to focus on data that's actually been published and facts. So don't kill me if you think your opinion is different than what the data is showing. But my job here is to educate you with what actually is being shown So first thing, this was actually about a little over a year ago, but this was done with 130. This is SparkToro, is kind of a data analysis company. They take data from SEMrush has uh, a data collection company. So they tracked 332 million searches over 130,000 Google users over a period of 20 months. So a very extensive data set. And what was interesting, the one takeaway for you guys is that 99.8% of large language model tool users also use traditional search engines. So what's happening is people are searching more. They're not searching less. They're not taking what they do in one area and moving it to another. They're doing both. And personally, I can attest to this. When I have a how-to question or I can't figure something out, I usually go to a ChatGPT or Claude, like, hey, help me out. What steps do I need to do this? Or I go to YouTube to watch a video. But when I'm trying to make a decision, I want to see reviews. I want to see other products. I want to see things that compare. And Google is definitely best at that. So that's the way I search. I'm not sure how y'all do it, but that's kind of what I've found as well, is a lot of people are using both. So, and if you haven't checked out this podcast episode on Service Business Mastery, please do. It's with a company called Mantle. The gentleman's name was Zach Deering. They have an AI sales, in-home sales tool. And so what they did is they did a study of 425 homeowners that purchased large, most of it was HVAC, but also there was some water heaters and some other large purchases in there. So what does that data, what does that survey tell us about AI search? So Google is still the driving force for homeowners to find someone to do business with in the contracting space. I don't think it's on here. I would actually love for you guys to guess in the chat what you think the number 2 and the number 3 source was, and put that in the chat, because I think it might interest you guys to know what that looks like. You can see on here, ChatGPT is less than 3% of where the decisions are made. But I'd love to see what you guys think as far as the second and third most often when doing these large purchases. While you guys are thinking about that, a couple other big takeaways, and we did talk that mention that I was going to talk about pricing transparency. So this is really, really, really important. This last stat down here is 69% of people. So 69% of that 425 person study searched for pricing online, but only 15% found it clear enough to get a rough idea of what it costs to replace whatever they're trying to replace. So very, very telling there. And a lot of this is because this is information that the industry and the coaches in the industry have said, oh, don't put that out there. That's not a good idea. The problem is homeowners are the ones that drive industries. So if we don't give homeowners what they want or what they're looking for, that becomes a problem. And you now have friction in your sales cycle that shouldn't be there. And if your competitors are fixing that friction, they are going to be the ones taking more market share over yourself. So just keep that in mind. A lot of homeowners are looking for this information. A lot of contractors do not have this information online. Now, I'm not saying you have to put your exact pricing on your website. What I am saying is you should put ranges. Why do those ranges exist? What causes something to be high or low? What factors go into the install? What things does your team need to look at to make sure you get a proper estimate? Educate your homeowners on this stuff so that way you can be the source of truth, and then they keep coming back to you when they want more answers. All right, so Noreen said personal referrals, good guess. Lori said Yelp, word of mouth. I'm surprised you said Yelp. Most contractors cringe when they see that 4-letter word. It's almost like saying a curse word. Word of mouth, referrals, Yelp. Angie's List, word of mouth. Okay, very good guesses, guys. So word of mouth, and so word of mouth being, hey, neighbor, friend, relative, who have you used in the past? And then previous experiences with a contracting company was number 3. And those were, I think it was So it says 36% was contractors they previously used. And I think it was like 29% were word of mouth or referrals. So if you add those two things together, that is the majority of where homeowners are finding people. So with that data in mind, was that like 61, 62%? How can we focus a little bit more of our effort on making sure that people know us, that awareness and consideration stage of the funnel, because that's where they're starting to give you an opportunity. It's not necessarily the bottom of the funnel that's driving everything. Now, Google is still by far number one when it comes to bottom of funnel, but there are other opportunities for you to grow your business. And I don't see a lot of contractors focusing on those channels. And that's why this data is so important. All right, so last bit of news here. If you guys don't follow Searchlight and their Substack blog, just look up the Data Driven Trades Substack. It's kind of Substack's a blog platform if you're not familiar with it. This was one of their more recent samples is 0.33% of revenue opportunity converted via ChatGPT. This was a sample of about 1,000 companies. There are several private equity companies in their group as well that use their dashboards. And that equated out of those 1,000 companies, 1.7 million of revenue opportunity. So is Google dying? That's the next logical question, right? Are they dying? So this is a chart. On the left-hand side, the numbers are the number of searches in the billions per month for Google. And you can see it has flattened off a little bit, but it is still growing. It went from, I think, 13 to 14 billion from second half of 2024 to 2025. And this is data that I found through some reputable sources. So I just made a chart for you guys. So what does ChatGPT's growth look like? So a little bit more of an incline curve, but still, when you're looking at 13 billion to about 2 billion, and the fact that a lot of people use ChatGPT as an assistant to write emails, to help with webinars like this, it's the number of people searching for shopping or searching to find a business to do business with is a lot lower because the usage, the way people use these tools are different. But both are growing, so nobody's taking market share. This is what it looks like overall, is the number of searches in the billions. So you can kind of see what that looks like. When it comes to local search, Google is still king. And honestly, I would be shocked if ChatGPT ever really took over local search, because Google's infrastructure with the Google business profiles and all the data they have around your business is so accurate and so up to date. ChatGPT does not have that infrastructure. Perfect example. I've shared this before. A marketing friend of mine who went to Service World Expo last year, he asked ChatGPT while he was in Vegas for 3 restaurants or for a couple restaurants to go eat. Of the 3 options, 2 of them were closed, not just closed for the day, closed permanently, because ChatGPT does not have a reviews system. It does not have a business profile that it pulls from. And honestly, if it does pull from Bing, most people don't even know they have a Bing Places account to update, which if you haven't updated, that could be something you put on your list to just make sure is accurate. The data is not good. So it's a frustrating user experience when that happens. And then people go back to Google and be like, oh, yep, I can find everything I need on Google. And so that's how that stuff works. Plus, Gemini has made some tremendous strides. ChatGPT had a code red, which for tech companies is like all hands on deck. We're hurting right now. Google, I don't even remember what their revenue numbers is. Google's got revenue to support all of this infrastructure and growth. ChatGPT is hemorrhaging money because they're constantly getting it from investors and they don't have a really great source, which is why they're going to start running ads here soon, which don't worry, you're not missing anything. Nothing's out yet for that. It's just one of those things that they announced is coming. All right. So where are they looking for contractors? This actually was from that Mantle study that I showed you guys. It was Google, previously used, friend, neighbor, a contractor's website, social media. You can see social media is a pretty big piece of the pie here, which we talked about earlier in the funnel. And then of course, maintenance, AI search, and then big box stores. So just to recap, what's really going on is people are searching more than ever before. They're searching for videos. They're searching on social media platforms. They're searching on ChatGPT. They're searching on Google's AI. they're searching and researching because information is so easily accessible now. They're searching more than ever. That's why all of these platforms are growing, because everybody's using them, multiple platforms, to get the answers that they really need. All right. So now that we are thinking about what needs to be tracked and that AI is growing, but not taking market share from Google, let's jump into focusing on important digital marketing strategies for 2026. So we're going to talk about organic. And now all of these things that I share with you guys, we don't have time to go super in depth on each topic. So I'm going to keep it very high level with the most important insights for you. So that way you guys can take a couple takeaways from each of these avenues. So this is what you need to know about local search, is that local search is just like we talked about with AI tools and how people are searching everywhere. There are several platforms for you to know about. Your website, which is organic SEO, still important. This is how large language models and Google understand what services you offer and where you offer those services, which can build up the authority of your business online, which can help your Google business profile. It can help you show up in those AI searches. Local SEO is your Google business profile. Apple Maps. I don't have a lot of data on Apple Maps because Apple is very stringent on their data, but just know that there are 120 or 125 million Apple devices, Apple phone or iPhones. Sorry, I'm an Android user. iPhones in the US alone. So being on Apple Maps and having a listing on Apple Maps can be relevant because people may use that native Maps app versus Google. Bing Places, we touched on that. It's important just to make sure it's updated. There actually is a way to, when you update your Google business profile, to sync those updates to Bing. I can show anyone how to do that if you need to. It's pretty easy. You just got to go in Bing and there's an option there for that. And then that 4-letter word that not a lot of people love, but Yelp. Yelp is important. And the reason I say Yelp is important is Yelp's review system, regardless of what you feel about it, shows up on Apple Maps. It shows up on ChatGPT. It shows up on Bing sometimes. So it shows up in multiple places. And in Yelp, because they share data with those platforms, is how they help rank on those platforms. So it is important to have an updated Yelp platform. I am not going to be the one telling you to go spend money with them because I know that there's a lot of thoughts and feelings on that. But at least have an updated platform with the correct information so that way people can find you. And if you can push some reviews that way, try to. Yelp, I know their review platform is not ideal, but try to get some reviews there just so you have a decent star rating. All right. This is one that, I'll be honest, I would say 20 to 30% of our sales calls that we have, we end up talking a lot about the location of where your business is. This matters a ton for local visibility, and I'll show you why. So this was a client that their office location was in Four Corners, Montana. They wanted to rank in Bozeman. Well, Bozeman is the big city in the area, and it's got a lot more competitors. And you can see this little red dotted, or it's not dotted here, but this red outline of Bozeman. That is Google's definition of Bozeman. The USPS, or the post office, said that this client was in Bozeman, Montana. But according to Google, that's not the case. And what happens is when those things don't match up, Google's like, well, they're close, but they're not in Bozeman. So the chances of ranking in Bozeman go down. And you can see the same thing as we got to this other city up here. They rank very well. And then as soon as you start getting into the city limits, the rankings start dropping. And this isn't something that a marketing company can overcome, because 3 of the top 10 local SEO ranking factors have to do with your location. So just keep that in mind. These are things that we have a lot of conversations about. If you're not sure if your location is good and it's where you want to rank, feel free to reach out to myself or my team. We're happy to help you guys just kind of figure out what's what there, because what happens is a lot of people pay for marketing and marketing services, but they're foundationally set up against how the algorithm works. And that is just something so that's why it feels like they don't get the results or marketing companies are a scam. It's not that the marketing companies are doing anything wrong. It's that the business is not set up for success with the way the algorithm works. Other things that you can do with this is open up additional locations. We do this a lot for clients. There has to be some strategy done with that, but you can definitely do that. So if there's other areas you want to rank in and you don't want to move your main office, totally understandable. There's ways to do that. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of problems that we see with location. If you have a service area business where you don't have like a map pin and it just looks like the service area is like a circle or whatever that looks like, those do not rank well, period. So if you have one of those, I would highly recommend you find some budget and get an office. Does not have to be big. It can be like a 100 square foot office, like a 10 by 10, where you can get a desk and a computer and a vinyl sign on the door, and you should be good to go. The top ranking factor for Google Business Profiles is primary category. If you've been on any of my webinars, you've already heard me say this. It is super important. And there are a lot of options for every single trade. So I'll give HVAC as an example because it's seasonal. Right now, you should have furnace repair service or heating equipment system supplier, if you want to focus on replacements, as your primary category. The key is making sure the primary category matches a page on your website. So if we serve Phoenix area, I'll give a bad example because Phoenix is not cold, but if let's say we're doing furnace repair and we want to rank for furnace repair in Phoenix, we need to have furnace repair service as the primary category. And then we need to link a website page that talks about our furnace or heating repair services in Phoenix to the Google Business Profile. I hope that makes sense, but it's a lot of times I see a lot of mismatching on that, which causes rankings to be delayed or not as good. Here's an example of what that looks like. We changed the primary category for this company in Elgin from HVAC to air conditioning repair service in April. And then we also changed the page that the Google Business Profile goes to the AC repair page. And you guys can see the results in a very short period of time. Your Google Business Profile name is still very, very, very important. I would say this is the number 2 ranking factor. And the best way to overcome this is to get a keyword in your name. The keyword I would focus on is repair because it's got the most volume. And the best way to do this is get a doing business as or a fictitious certificate from your state. Make sure you have the paperwork just in case Google gets a little cranky with this, decides they want to suspend you or you need to verify. You have all of your ducks in a row. It's very important though. It's one of the first things that we do with clients that come in is we come up with a DBA based on the services they want to rank for because it's that important. I already mentioned this, get an office. I know people don't like to hear that, but I promise you it will help. This was a plumber this was a couple years ago now, but they had 2 SAB listings, their house and a technician's house. Before they started working with us, I told them that they had to get at least 1 office. And literally within 2 days of us getting that office location live, you can see the growth. And this was before we even had like an onboarding call with them. So a lot of growth before they even started. Make sure you fill out everything in your profile. One of the newest things, it probably doesn't have the label new anymore, but add your social media profiles because Google's search engine and the social media platforms, now your videos on Facebook, your videos on TikTok, your posts on Instagram and LinkedIn and all these other social media profiles are getting indexed in Google search. So make sure that your social media profiles are connected to your Google Business Profile so Google can read all of that stuff and understand and get more context around your business. It looks just like this. When you're in there, it's really easy. Just copy, paste, and save. We'll talk about this more later because we have put a huge emphasis on this internally. But several of you guys mentioned that getting focused on your reputation this year was one of the best things that you did. So I'll give you some tips and tricks on that a little bit later in the webinar. All right. So what else do you need to know? This is going to be a little bit recap. Apple uses data from Yelp and Bing, and ChatGPT is connected to Bing Places. So, but they also use Yelp reviews. So it's just a recap for you guys to understand like what the local ecosystem looks like. And the other thing to keep in mind, I didn't didn't touch on this, but for voice search, a lot of these like Apple and big ChatGPT, because they're connected to Yelp, they do use Yelp's local ecosystem to help find a company. So again, if your information is not updated or you don't have a listing there because you don't want the rep calling you 15 times a week, I would highly recommend just making sure you have one, and then tell them if you don't want to do anything with them, just maybe block their phone number when they call you. But it is important because the local ecosystem, especially voice search, pulls from that data. So, what can we do to rank or help ourselves rank in ChatGPT? This is one of the biggest questions that I get. So we did a study. We have about 150 clients right now, and we manually went through every single client in every single market to find what the top sites that were cited in ChatGPT. What were those sites? Now, some of these are going to be, and feel free to take a screenshot of this, but some of these are going to be ones you're familiar with. Angie was number one. BBB was number two. Okay. But as we go down this list, you're going to find some sites that you probably have never heard of before, like bestprosintown.com or BuildZoom or airconditioningup.com, plumbersofamerica.com, hoodoo.com. Forbes Home has listings for top 10 companies for every single trade. So the key for you as a takeaway is, one, log out of your own ChatGPT account. Don't do these searches when you're logged in, because it's going to take your preference. And if you've looked up your company before, it's going to remember you. But go and just type in things that you think a homeowner would search, like find me the best air conditioning repair company in whatever city you're in. Find me the best roofing contractor in this area. Maybe, and then play with those terms, and then go to the bottom where it says sources. Click on that button. It'll open up a panel on the right-hand side. Jot down any sites that look like they have directories, like they have a top 10 list or top 5 list, because those things can be sites. Most of those are sites you can get your business listed on, mostly for free. Some might have a paywall. Most do not, but you can at least get your business listed there, which that is a backlink when you do that. So when you connect that, that's a backlink. It's one of the easiest ways to get backlinks. It's stuff that we do for clients all the time, but that is the best way to do it. So I know there's a lot of people of you guys know Yext or some other ServiceTitan's got Reputation, or I don't even remember what the pro product's called, but they use Yext on the back end. The problem is Yext does not have a lot of these sites in their network. So you have to manually do this work, or hire a virtual assistant, or have someone in your office staff do it for you. But it's one of the easiest ways to get your business in all the places that you want for AI search. The other big thing to keep top of is, this is kind of a bullet point list here, but find Reddit threads where, especially ones that are local to your area or maybe the major metro around your area, and make sure you're engaging with those. I think a little bit later, I'll show you guys a little bit of an automation on how to do that, but make sure somebody is monitoring your brand on sites like Reddit, Facebook groups, Nextdoor, because those are informational sources where real human conversations are happening. And a lot of these large language models are paying a very hefty price for that data. So they're learning from that data that's in there. And if your business does not exist in there and it's not mentioned anywhere, chances are you're never going to get pulled. All right. So next, we're going to talk about social media. I mentioned, so this is actually a Google search. When I did this was on page 1 of search, which is fairly new. I have not seen that too often, but it's pulling Facebook group posts into search. Now, this probably isn't going to happen for every market, but for me, I saw this, and actually there were a couple others like this, and some of you guys may see this if you do this search. There's multiple different Facebook groups and comments, and then look at what's right below it. It's a Reddit thread. This is telling you where you need to have your business information. These are tips. These are little things, or little breadcrumbs that Google's leaving of where you need to make sure your business is being talked about in a positive light. So These could be things that you train your office staff to look at, your technicians that are heavy social media users, maybe they're heavy Reddit users, have them help you with this. Don't feel like you got to take that big monkey of always monitoring your brand and put it on your back and do everything yourself. See if your team can help you with that, because it will pay off. It's kind of a long game, but it will pay off. Here's another example. This one had over 100 comments a few months ago, and it even pulled someone's comment right here about TK Heating and Air because they thought that was the best answer. Here's some social media do's. Some of these things we've already touched on, but join every local Facebook group you can. Go to the search bar, type in have a list of all the cities you serve. Go look for local Facebook groups in that area. Look for the moms in that area. Look for the dads in that area, the buy, sell, trade groups. Add every single one of them. This is literally what I did when I was in the trades, and I've done the same thing with Relentless as I join all the industry-specific Facebook groups now, and I engage in those groups all the time. And I would say block off 15 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, even 5 minutes a day to just engage with those groups. I promise you it will pay off long-term. If you just go in there with the sole intent of helping other people, you will people start looking to you for answers. It's like a teacher syndrome. The person in front of the room, when you see someone speaking on stage or a teacher, they have the authority of the room. So everyone looks at them with a different level of respect versus someone that just walks in the back of the room and starts shouting things off. They're like, well, who's this idiot in the back? People on the stage, the people that are teaching, are the ones that get looked at with more authority. So that's what I want for you guys, is to be that authority in your market. Engage with value. Do not sell. Engage. This is something that I don't see too many people doing with. There's a lot of people that put an F following a dot, a question mark. Engage with them. Ask them a question. I literally had a post yesterday. Someone was looking for marketing companies, and it was a very broad ask. I think it was in the House Call Pro group. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry put their company name, and that's all they did. I asked the guy a question. What kind of marketing are you looking for? Because marketing is a really broad topic, so I can better help you. Because maybe it wasn't something that he needed that I offered, so I could point him in the right direction. It was one of the only comments he answered out of like 30 responses. And then eventually I said, well, hey, what you're looking for is exactly what we do. I'm happy to help. Here's our link to book. Nobody else asked a question. Nobody else engaged with that person. So you can stand out just by doing the little things that nobody else does. And then in those Facebook groups, I would highly recommend not posting with your business profile, because that's typically how people get kicked out of Facebook groups. Post with your personal profile. Don't sell. If you like automation, which hopefully most of you guys do, this is a great way to monitor your brand and different keywords on Reddit groups. So once you find those Reddit communities that we've mentioned, you can connect it through a tool called Zapier. And then this filter step in the middle, you can put all the keywords that people search by. So the best way to do this is look at previous threads focused on a service you offer. What are they typing in? Are they typing HVAC, heating, air conditioning, plumbing, water heaters? What are they typing in? Use those keywords in your filter step here. So that way, every single time one of those keywords is mentioned in that Reddit community, it sends you an email with a link. So that way you can automatically go engage. You just click on the link, you go engage in that thing, close it out, you're done. It can be less than 5 minutes. So that's one of the fastest, easiest ways to monitor on Reddit. You cannot do this on local Facebook groups, so don't ask. It doesn't work. We do have a tool. This is something that Tersh and I have developed. It's called Tap Recon. This will take you right to the landing page. You can monitor local Facebook groups with this. However, I would very slowly set up your account, because meaning don't put all of your Facebook groups in there at once, because Facebook can tell that an automation is happening or an AI is scraping these pages. So if you scrape a ton of them super often, you might have some troubles with your Facebook account. But Reddit works great. Nextdoor works great. If you're doing more commercial work, LinkedIn can be another great place for you to do this. And it's just a Chrome extension that's open on your computer. So it's really easy to use. Some more do's. Automatically share 5-star reviews. Should be pretty self-explanatory, but just automatically share those every time you get them. Shout into the world that you're great and you do great work. Showcase your work, showcase before and afters, share a story of someone you helped. What was their problem? What was the solution? How did you solve it? Post images of your customers with yard signs, internal team meetings and trainings, and explain why you guys train so much. I can't remember who it was in the chat mentioned that they started doing one of the biggest things for 2025 that helped them was doing weekly training. Post pictures of that. While the training's going on, just step back, take a picture, be like, hey, we train so hard all the time because of XYZ. Maybe make that touch on your core values of why you do that. Just put it out into the world of why you do these extra things so that way the homeowner benefits from your work. Use lots of video content. That could be a full presentation of itself. And then make sure, this is such a low-hanging fruit, and I see so many people miss this. Fill out your personal profile with your business information. Put your business, put that you're the owner, put how long you've been there, put who you serve and what you do. There's so many times when people add me as friends, and I have no idea what you do, what industry you're in, what you serve, so I won't add you. So just make sure you fill that out because people do look at that all the time. They want to know, like, well, who is, especially if you comment, who is this person? What makes them an expert? Put that stuff in your personal profile. It's super easy. It takes you, 2 minutes to do and can help you with lead generation. Here's some more examples. Take screenshots of these. Again, these were some examples. I was at Professional Services at the time. The couple of things I want you to note is that you notice in this was the big group, the big local Facebook group in our area. Post from your personal profile. That would be the takeaway. So, and if you want, you can post on your business page and then share from your personal, or share that business post in the Facebook group from your personal profile. But this stuff made us thought leaders or at least in our little market. Here's some more. This is actually the one I shared at the beginning of this. Here's the one that you see our pictures of our techs that we're doing training in our shop. You can kind of read through this. Feel free to take a screenshot. Use the same thing. One of the biggest things, I think sometimes people think they have to be so different. We were in a tiny little county of 60, 70,000 people. Nobody in your market's going to have any idea what we did and what worked for us. So rob and duplicate. Don't complicate this. And then on the right-hand side here, you see what that looks like. This was that Port Washington voice group. I have several of these video screenshots or video recording sessions. We dominated local Facebook groups because of how we approach this. And I don't think he's on here today, but Stephen Bates is a client of ours in Florida. I posted some of these tips like 6 months ago, and literally within a couple weeks, he was getting multiple leads on Facebook that he was never getting before just by implementing some of this stuff. For content ideas, this is one of my favorite tools to use. This takes all of the people also ask questions from Google, so 25 plus years of data, and it can make you can literally have hundreds of content ideas and questions to answer very, very, very easily. So just type in whatever the thing is, make sure you change the location, and you can get hundreds of content ideas very quickly. And then from there, just pick the ones that you think are most relevant, start creating videos, start creating posts, start creating emails from those things. Very simple to do. Here's some don'ts. Don't use stock images. This also goes with your website. Do not use stock images. Everybody knows they're stock. They're crap. They've been used 100 times from a million different sites. Don't use them. If you don't take pictures on all of your jobs, you should have a nice repository, because most CRMs have that capability now, or you can use something like Company Cam to get pictures. You should almost always use real pictures of your people, your team, their work they're doing. Posting a couple times a week on social is not enough. So that's where automation comes in, where maybe 2 days a week you're sharing new reviews. Maybe 2 other days a week you're sharing a completed job from your CRM, running it through a ChatGPT prompt or a Claude prompt to come up with a story, and you're posting that story with a picture. Don't make this hard, because otherwise you'll run out of things to talk about. But post often. Not using videos, poor quality images, don't oversell, don't always be asking for something. Otherwise people are going to tune you out and they're going to think that you're just constantly spamming them with sales. Stay away from politics. I have seen some people in the trades get into politics. It's not just don't do it. especially in the political climate that we're in right now. I would not touch this with a 10-foot pole. If you want to put it in a local, in a tiny little group that maybe doesn't know who you are, or in a different market, that's fine. Just do not put it on your personal profile, because that stuff people will search for that stuff. People are petty enough to do that. And then make sure when you use terms, like if you're talking about the training and why you're doing training on boilers or something, use terms that homeowners understand. So if you have a post, maybe you wrote the post, take it through AI and be like, hey, put this at a 6th or 7th grade reading level. So that way it gets rid of industry jargon and it can break down complex topics in a simple format. Next, we're gonna have just a couple slides about paid search. Paid for me is something that is necessary at a certain size, but it is not something that you should start with. I see a lot of companies just starting out put money that they don't have into paid avenues, and they don't know what they're doing, and they end up burning budget, and they don't have a good system to answer the phone. They don't have all those other things that we talked about early on solved. So they end up blowing a lot of money and be like, wow, marketing doesn't work. Paid search is a way to amplify what your foundation looks like. So if you have a great foundation of happy customers, memberships, an organic presence, a great presence on Google Business Profile, a great Facebook social media presence, these things can amplify that. So it's essentially pouring gasoline on a fire. And that's really what paid ads should be used for. And it's something that should be turned on and turned off, as someone alluded to in the chat, when needed. Use it when you need it, turn it off when you don't. So why most campaigns fail is, and I've seen this multiple times, is that only one ad group is set up for all services. Every single service line that you want to run ads for should be a separate ad group, so you can track campaign spending inside of each one of those, and you can understand which one's performing and which one's not. So a couple more things. Typically with paid ads, you do want to have some sort of offer on there, because if you think about it, you're buying spot on page one. If you just have a really generic ad copy and it says, hey, we're the best HVAC company in our area, the best roofing company in our area, people are like, okay, what's in it for me? That's what they care about, is what is in it for them. So lead with your best offer to get the click, to hopefully get the conversion. That's really what we're trying to do when we put ads up on Google, is to get the click, to get them to pay attention to us. One of the other big mistakes and reasons that, and I've actually talked some people out of doing pay-per-click, is their operations. When we look at their booking percentages or their text conversion rates, it's not strong. So if you're not strong in those areas and you're spending $30, $50, $100 a click, it adds up extremely fast, because now you have to get even more clicks and more calls to get growth and top line revenue. And what's going to happen is it's going to erode any net profit margin that you have. Here's an example of a landing page, just some examples for you of what that should look like. This is actually a website of ours. Typically what you want to do is you want to have, there's a way to put, so like if we're targeting Phoenix, Arizona, this should really say Phoenix air conditioning experts with an offer. And then you typically want to put some sort of reviews near the top, or your rating, like you see on the right-hand side here and the left-hand side here. Put that rating there, make sure it's clickable so they can go see your reviews. So if they want to read more of them, then highlight some of your reviews below this part of the page, below the hero section. And then also put some brands that you work with that homeowners may understand. Maybe those are next door neighborhood favorite awards, or you work with Trane, Rheem, Carrier, whatever. I don't know some of the top shingle manufacturers, but put some of those things in that homeowners may know. So like, oh yeah, I recognize that. I can use that. Because if that's what people are looking for, something that they know, something they can relate to. LSA, we're not going to spend a lot of times on this, because LSA has changed, as most of you guys know, to more of an AI-enabled product or service. So AI rates the leads. You can do a thumbs up, thumbs down. LSA has also changed where it is no longer called Google Guaranteed. They have also removed the additional LSA review section last year, the verified reviews. So Really what you need is to make sure that you have a great Google review presence, because all of those reviews funnel into local service ads. You don't have to now go get LSA reviews and Google reviews, which is great. It's one change that actually made sense. I don't love the fact that you can't dispute some of the leads, because no human, from my understanding, is involved in this. And a couple more things, since we talked about it earlier up in the presentation. If you change your name on your Google business profile by getting a DBA and you change it to add a keyword like repair, make sure your name on LSA matches. So you're gonna have to get with support and make sure that matches. You're probably gonna have to share the DBA certificate with them, because what happens is if you change the name there, to Google, it doesn't match. So they're gonna start decreasing your lead volume on LSA. So just make sure those things match and make those changes around the same time, and you should be good. One more future thing that I have seen in the home services space, pay attention to this if it comes out to your profile, is Google is testing offer ads inside of LSA. So they're testing things like being able to put like $50 off repair, or free service call with repair, or free estimates, whatever that looks like, to try to capture more conversions. So just keep in mind, it may or may not be there for your market. I haven't seen it everywhere, but I have seen it. So just make sure you're aware of that. All right. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, and it's the potential inside your existing customer database. I mentioned Searchlight earlier in their blog. Again, go check them out if you have not. I would highly recommend everyone at least pay attention to the data they put out, if not get a Searchlight dashboard. They integrate with most field service management softwares. But what you're looking at here is what our clients are spending with us and with the Google properties, LSA and PPC, what the closed revenue looks like, because they can match this up to your CRM. But look at how much is open or potential. So when we started partnering with them about 3.5, 4 years ago, and I started seeing these dashboards, I'm like, my goodness, there is a lot of money. I mean, look at this, $37 million sitting there, not closed. So what can we do to close this stuff? And my answer was to have our own marketing automation suite, or our own marketing automation tool. Now, there are others out there. And if you're not a client, there's Chirp, there's Hatch, there's Podium. You can get your own account with High Level, go High Level. But the biggest thing is that you focus on making these messages better. Because a lot of times I see even people that set up a Chirp, they use the generic basic campaigns like, hey, we just sent you an estimate. Let us know if you have questions. Hey, just checking in on that estimate. It's like the worst. It's better than nothing, but it is also not very good. Make sure you're writing messages that actually are going to drive them further down the funnel to make a decision with your company. And the other thing you can do, especially, I know it's going to get cold in a lot of the country right now, so some of you guys may not need this, but when it's slow or it slows down, make sure you have campaigns at the ready so you can go out and reach out to your existing customer database to fill up your schedule. Here's a few examples of some stuff that we do. These text messages, you notice they're not just, hey, we have a $49 tune-up, you want us to save a spot. We value stack these offers, so that way it's almost like a no-brainer for the $49 in this offer, for example. So just keep that in mind. And I do have some free resources we're going to give you guys on how you guys can do this yourself. The other thing that's really important with reaching out and following up is personalizing the message. And this can be done a lot of different ways. This doesn't mean just adding the first name. That's kind of like the first basic step. But read this message and see. We also mentioned, because we were able to pull data from their CRM, the last time we saw you was, so that means it almost looks like I'm personally going into their account and sending them a text, because I'm like, hey, the last time we saw you was fall of 2023. We're booking tune-ups. We got a special for you. You want me to grab a spot? Just that little personalization can go a long way towards getting increased conversion rates. And if any of you guys need help on trying to pull that data and stuff, feel free to reach out. I can help you guys with that. So here's a list of different campaign ideas. There's really an endless list. You can do a lot of different things with this, but this is kind of like a basic list for you to start with. The most important ones, open estimate, reaching out for tune-ups, and segmenting your list in a way that you know who's a member, who's not. And then also, especially if you're an HVAC or plumbing, where you have, like, let's say a water heater is 8 or 9 years old and you have that data on the model and serial number, always start when you do outbound campaigns with the oldest equipment first, then go down to the, like, let's say 15 to 20 years or older, 10 to 15, 6 to 10, and 1 to 5. And the strategy behind that is, one, you're going to find more repairs and more replacement opportunities with older equipment. So it's going to book up not only your service team, but your install and sales team. And then as you work your way down, that becomes opportunities to train new team members and level them up by having them with a senior technician or someone that's really good at running your process. Train them on the 1 to 5 year old equipment. So that way, eventually they can take the older stuff and turn that into something else. So that's the strategy there. And we've done this a lot. One of the first campaigns we ever ran was for an HVAC and plumbing company. It was April. April was typically not a very busy month. Their air conditioning season started in May usually, and it was pretty mild. And so they had a customer list of about 5,000 customers. We went through, we just offered a $49 AC tune-up. And honestly, our messaging wasn't even as good as what you guys saw a couple slides ago. Brought over 300 tune-ups to their team, and they booked and sold over $300,000 in revenue during a slow month. So this stuff works. Now, certain industries, I know we have some roofers on here. That's a little harder because I know you guys don't get in the same homes as often. But if you do offer sister services, if you will, like gutters or window cleaning or something like that, there's some other opportunities for you there. If you just do roofing, it could be something like maybe you did a repair on someone's roof, maybe customers that you did repairs on roofs like 2 to 4 years ago. See if they need another inspection, things like that. Maybe you can offer a free inspection or a very low cost inspection to get back out there. Because if they had a repair, chances are the roof's getting a little older and they might need something else, and they might need to get that done ahead of the next storm. So just things to think about. There's always ways. You just might have to really understand what your customer goes through and what that journey looks like to come up with a campaign. This is the custom GPT that I built to create really good text message campaigns. So feel free to grab this screenshot, or I'm sorry, grab the QR code here. That'll take you right to the custom GPT. You put a couple pieces of information about your business in there, and it will create a campaign for you. And then from there, you can just tweak whatever you need to. And because I created a text message one, I figured why not create one for email campaigns? So go ahead and grab that QR code too if you like writing emails or have a system for that. This will help you write better email campaigns. I made a post about this last night. It's feeling a little frisky last night because I see, especially in the world that we live in today, everyone blames everybody else for their problems and their struggles and why they can't accomplish that goal or why they can't lose weight. You are the master of your destiny. You are the one in control. You get to make decisions that affect your life. Nobody else. If you allow other people to affect your life that much, you have to figure out a way to block that noise, because only you can drive your results. And I just want to make that, and it'll make sense here in a minute when we go into the next thing, but focus on what you can control, because there are a lot of things outside of our control. For example, we work with HVAC, plumbing, electrical companies and roofers. If it's like California this last summer, their weather was extraordinarily mild. Not ideal when you have a bunch of companies hoping that you can grow their business and their average temperature in the summer 70 degrees. There's things we can't control. So we did more outbound campaigns for them. We tried to focus on things we could control. And I want the same for you guys. Stop letting everyone else dictate whether you succeed or fail. All right. So a couple things about websites. I'm going to go over this real quick. Websites are still important, but it's more so for the ranking benefits and being shown in AI searches and those near me searches, and also building the authority of your Google business profile. But just basic things here. Some of these things you guys have probably heard, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Feel free to grab a screenshot or grab this in the replay that goes out. Use special offers and coupons. Make sure there's an option for live chat. Really important. Make sure your site looks good on mobile, because there's probably 55 to 60% of traffic is on mobile these days. Something I don't have on here, we talked about it earlier. I would highly recommend having some sort of online pricing estimator or online pricing tool or content on your website that discusses price. It's a growing thing. I don't have a screenshot of it, but if you go to Google and you type in a service, you're most likely there's a bubble right underneath of that before you get to the results that says online estimates. Google makes it very big, very obvious, and they're pushing for that. And some of you guys probably already know that Google also has on the business profile has a button called Have AI Get Prices. It will call anywhere from, I don't remember exact amount, it's like 7 to 10 businesses and ask them for a price on a service. And then it will come back to you and share the report of what it found. And the companies that answered the phone and have something there will go on the top. The ones that did not answer the phone or didn't answer the question will go towards the bottom. So just keep those things in mind when it comes to some other little tips that you guys can focus on. Talked about this a little bit briefly, but I want to reiterate: 1 page per service you offer. So if you have air conditioning as a service, don't have 1 page that includes installation, replacement, maintenance, and repair. Those are all separate pages that should be on your website. Okay. Same thing with boilers: boiler repair, boiler maintenance or tune-ups, boiler replacement, ductless, heat pumps. Those are all separate pages on your website. Same thing for roofing. There might be different things that you need to have. You have a roofing repair, a roofing replacement, and then maybe you have roofing inspections, and you have other services underneath of that that you can offer. It just tells search engines and large language models what you do. And then even more important is 1 page per city that you service in. I can't tell you how many websites I go to. They have the list, they have your service area list, but there's no pages connected to it. And if you are a multi-trade company, which I know there was a couple in here, heating is 1 page per city. Air conditioning is another page per city. Plumbing is another page. Electrical is another page. So that means if you do all 3 of those trades, that's 4 pages per city with unique content. That is how you rank for near me searches and how you also show up in large language models for these different cities when people search. So keep that in mind. Feel free, if you guys want to look, we have a huge website portfolio, but you really want to make sure that the website just stands out. It has call to actions, what's unique about the business, reviews, pictures of the people that work at the business or highlighting the brand. This one's highlighting the brand versus pictures, but you guys can kind of see in here, we really focus on like all of these pictures that you guys see in these drop down or these sections below here. These are all images that we've gotten from our clients. We don't use stock images unless somebody does not have images. Make sure it's your content. It will make your website look better and it will make it more real, because in the age of AI, humanizing your brand is even more important than it was before. So feel free to go to this website. And if you guys want some inspiration, we got, as you can see, we got a bunch of different options here you can tab through. All right. Reviews. I mentioned we're going to get to this later. The best way, the companies that have the most success, and I just talked to one yesterday who they have been in business 1 month. 1 month. They have 80 Google reviews. Literally every single customer they go to, they focus on getting a review. That intense focus. There's companies that we talk to that they've been in business for 15 years and they don't have 80 reviews. This has to be a focus. And it's because there's been some studies done when it comes to AI search, and about 30% of some of the ranking factors have come to reputation and your brand and what it looks like online. So focusing on getting those great reviews it's not getting less important. It's gotten more important almost every single year I've been doing this. So find ways to make that better. And one of the biggest things that we do, and the reason we have success with our campaigns, is we personalize the request. I don't know if I have any images of that on here. This is kind of what the social media posts look like. But we take a picture of the happy owner or their family in front of their truck, and we personalize that. There's a way for us to actually take the customer's first name and put it right in the middle of that picture. So not only are we personalized with, hey, this is John and Jane, owners of ABC Heating, asking for a review, but it's also puts, hey, Jim, in the middle of the thing. It personalizes. So it looks like somebody actually did that work, and we get a very good rate of response from that. This was just to reiterate how important reviews are. This was it's still a client. They've been a client for a few years now. At a second location that we opened up just outside the outskirts of Lexington, Kentucky. And they didn't have much presence there because we just started optimizing the profile. They had about 1,500 customers in their list, and we started dripping out a reviews campaign. I think we got them like 40 or 50 reviews in 6 weeks. And this was before the new system that we have, which I think can get probably almost double that many of reviews. And you can see what the difference is from February 25th to April 14th. Big difference. So not only do reviews and people clicking on the button and leaving and spending time on your Google Business Profile help, it helps with ranking. So it helps with the reviews, so more people call you. It also helps with ranking because people are clicking on your Google properties. So that's why typically at least once a year, if not twice a year, like every 6 months, we typically try to recommend clients like, hey, if we haven't gone through your customer list in a while, let's go through your customer list and let's try to get some more reviews. Because even people clicking on that link and opening it up, even if they don't leave a review, those are signals to search engines that, oh, something's happening here. Pay attention to this. And they reward you by moving you up because of that. This was, we've got some case studies here. This is the new review platform or the new review system that we've rolled out. We're able to get reviews very quickly. These are not spammy reviews. We're not buying reviews. These are legitimate reviews from an existing customer list. This also helps when you want to open second, third, fourth Google Business Profile locations to rank in other areas. We can get those up to speed and get to 100 plus reviews pretty quickly. You can kind of see what that looks like. It's a few more. So happened like this is 6 days. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane how fast this system is driving reviews for people. So do reviews on other platforms matter? This is another question I get asked a lot. Yes, they do, because ChatGPT cannot read Google reviews. So keep that in mind. So it's great that you're getting a lot of Google reviews. But if you want to rank on AI search, we have to start getting reviews on Better Business Bureau, on Facebook, on Yelp, get great mentions on Reddit. And if we're not doing those things, so this is an example of a Bing search. You can see that it's pulling Facebook review, Angie review. It's kind of pulling whatever it can. This is Apple Maps, mostly pulling Yelp because most people don't do the rating system on Apple. So just things you have to keep in mind. So what I would do personally is if a customer leaves your review, maybe copy and paste that same review to them and be like, hey, would you mind leaving this on our Better Business Bureau page, our Yelp page, our Facebook page? So just things that you can do. It's a little bit more manual, but it will pay dividends by spreading out your reviews. Talked about Yelp enough. I don't want to talk about Yelp anymore. So the question is, lead flow really the problem in your business? And now some businesses it is, but a lot of businesses it's not. And it's not because we're not doing enough with the existing opportunities. And that's why the gurus in the industry say, well, just spend 10 to 15% on marketing. Well, the problem is 10 to 15% on marketing doesn't leave you a whole lot of profit at the end of the year. So that's why you stay up late at night and you're working long weekends, because you're trying to figure out how you can squeeze more out of your business. We have to be more efficient. Efficiency is the key moving forward in the world, because there are a lot of ways we can become more efficient now. To highlight this, I went through last year's call booking rates and some of the stuff that we tag. 44.1% of inbound qualified leads were not booked. And that was over 220,000 phone calls that we looked at. 44%. What is that? That's 60, 70,000 that were not booked. The number one factor or reason that people do not, there's actually the top two factors that people do not book. One is they ask for pricing. And most of the time what happens is, yeah, it's going to be $79 to come out. Person stops talking. They don't have any value in that answer. And they don't offer options to book on the calendar. Would Thursday or Friday work better for you? They don't keep going. So there's a lot of training opportunity there. Number two, and this is something to really pay attention to, is you're booked too far out. You don't have enough room to service people fast enough. Just keep that in mind, because that is the number two issue that we see. So what that's telling me is we're not hiring enough, or we're trying to book workouts so far that as like a badge of honor. If you're booked out more than a week, it's not a good thing. You're losing opportunities, you're losing customers that you could acquire because your team's too booked out. So it's definitely a balancing act in the trades, but it's something that you need to be aware of. So the average booking rate across all trades last year for us was 55.9%. And this is because we report on this stuff to clients every single month. So this is the fact that they know it's a problem. It's still only about 56% booking rate. And then 14.6% of all calls were missed or abandoned. So 32,000 phone calls. And that's just with our clients. That doesn't go into the entire industry. We're just a tiny, tiny sliver of the industry. And this is why CSRs are not well trained. Leads are not followed up with, especially web form leads and chats. Average customer must be followed up with at least 5 to 7 times. This is where marketing automation becomes a big thing, is when somebody, especially like if you're on Facebook ads are notorious for being flaky. Follow up with them for 30 days after they fill out that lead ad form. Keep following up with them until they tell you to go away. And then there's a lot of options to follow up with, but I would focus on text, email, and ringless voicemail most often. Video, there are some ways to use AI to use like an avatar to make this easier, but I would focus text, email, and ringless voicemail because those are the core channels that people answer. Couple more tips. I know this is getting long, and I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I'm hoping that you guys are getting a ton of value from this session, but you can also set up these marketing automation systems with Angie, Home Advisor, Thumbtack, Networks. There's some new ones I found in the roofing industry when I went to RoofCon 2 weeks ago. All of those have a way to take the lead information and pull it into a Chirp, Hatch, Bullseye Pro, Go High Level, whatever system you want to use. Follow up with them at least 5 to 7 times over a period of a week or two. Okay. Because you paid for the lead. Follow up with them often and stay in touch with them. So just little tips, because those platforms do work. I know people getting 8 to 1, 10 to 1 return on the platforms that everybody says they hate, like Home Advisor and Angie and stuff like that, because they have a system in place to constantly follow up with those leads. Here's some more speed to lead campaigns. I mentioned Angie, Home Advisor, and Thumbtack, but these are all campaigns that can be set up and automated. I don't have time to go into how to do that today, but those are things. Tersh and I do have a Trade Automation Pros, which has a course and community on how to do some of these things and kind of help you learn automation. So if you want information on that, let me know. All right, some more freebies for you guys. Talked about booking rates not being great in the industry. And then, of course, the next drop-off point is when your techs are in home. So what I did is I wanted to create a way, because I know role-playing sometimes is hard to get installed in the culture. It feels awkward, even though everybody should do it. Our team does it. We just did another role play yesterday with all of our client-facing team. What you can do is use these custom GPTs. I have trained ChatGPT to be the homeowner. And so that way, what you can do is you can use voice mode on your phone. Just act like your CSR is picking up the phone, give it the objection, and it will talk to you just like you're a homeowner and then give you feedback on what you did well and what you can work on. You can also assign this to your team so that way they can enhance their skills. So if you know what the biggest objections they face are, you can fix those by doing more training. And this training can be done in the comfort of their home, in an office cubicle, in their truck. Let's say they had an objection of homeowner has to think about it. They go back in their truck before the next call. They just want to practice. They can quickly fire this up on their phone, type in the objection they want. The homeowner is going to give the objection. The technician can say whatever they would normally say. The AI coach will say, hey, this was great. This was great. I would change this, or I would try saying it this way. It will give them some feedback. So feel free to go ahead and use those. If you guys want marketing automation help, we do offer this as a service. You do not have to do marketing with us to do this. We will not only set up the automations, we will set up the marketing messaging and marketing copy for you in those messages. We have a lot of stuff already preset for that we can use. So feel free to reach out to us. The website for that is bullseyepro.ai. All right. We're getting to the last section here. Again, really appreciate you guys hanging out. There is a website link at the bottom. I highly, highly, highly recommend you guys save this link, because this is how you're going to do your marketing and budgeting planning, at least doing it on the easy way. The old hard way was a 2.5, 3 day intensive with a coach, where you're taking all these spreadsheets and all these reports and your head literally was spinning and you had a migraine because of all the numbers you had to look at. This is the easy way to do it. You do need some of your own data for this to work, though, because what you're going to put in when you go to this website is the number of calls you received last year, the total number of qualified leads. Of those, how many jobs were booked? Of those, how many jobs were sold by your technicians? A sold job is anything over and above either your maintenance or service fee. So example, your service fee is $49 to come out and look at something. If the ticket was $50 or more, and I'm saying subtotal, not with tax, is $50 or more, that's a sold job. That's what we count as sold jobs. What is your average ticket? And then how many employees you have. That will help you understand what is your revenue per employee, which is an important number for you to know. And then this will spit out your rates, your call to lead rate, which is not something you can really affect except if you can cut down on spam calls, your lead to booking rate, and your book to sold rate. This will give you some really good ideas on what levers you can pull for your business to grow it next year. The next section, so this is kind of what it looks like filled out. I filled this out and took a screenshot so everyone can see this. So I was saying that we were about a $5 million company. This was our gross profit. I did put some little tips in here too, because I know sometimes on the financial side, not everyone has been with a coach and understands like what's a good gross profit, what's a good net profit, how many memberships are good for a company my size, and how much is our marketing spend. So I put some things. These fields will change color if it's good, based on just what I know about the industry and my experience. So don't take it as like gospel that this is perfect, but it will change red if it's not good. So if we don't have enough memberships, it will be red. If we have a good amount, it'll be green. And that's just kind of how to follow this, and also has some goals here for you to try to reach. And this also helps you understand, okay, maybe my first goal is I'm going to fix my gross profit. So if I'm at 49.9, my goal this year is to get to 55%. Now we start working on strategies on how to do that. So pick one or two things, focus on them, and how do we fix them? And then for your growth targets, because it has this data up here, we can put, let's say we want to grow 50% this year. That means I'm going to be a $7.2 million company. If I don't change my gross profit or net profit percentages, this is what that's going to look like at the end of the year. So it gives you a little bit of a guide of what that might look like in terms of dollars for you. And then the fun part, the really fun part, the part that really is going to change how you operate your business is this conversion rate simulator down at the bottom. So we're going to take the percentages that we had at the top and put those in here. And then what we're going to do, so let's say if everything stayed the same, what does that look like? Now, if we changed one metric, so I'm going to go back and forth here. So I changed just one metric, which was my booking rate on the phone. So I went from 55%, which I told you guys was the average. And all I did was I said, I'm going to focus on my CSRs and we're going to book 60% this year. I'm not going to get any more leads. I'm not going to spend any more money. What does that what happens to my business? So with the same amount of leads as we got last year, that means we booked another 250 jobs by just raising our booking rate 5%. We sold an extra 175 jobs, and we found $437,000 in revenue without touching anything else in our business. That's a lot of money that's just left sitting there without having to pay another marketing company, without having to hire more people, without having to do anything else. A lot of that money outside of the materials that you buy and the labor is going to drop right down to your net profit. You're going to be more profitable. And sadly, these metrics and what we can do to tweak them are some of the biggest levers that we have in business, but they get overlooked. I need more leads. I need more work. You have it. You just need to go find it and find the opportunity that you already have. So that way you don't have to go find another marketing company. You don't have to go spend another $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 on Google ads. You just change the rates and focus on the things you can control, and your business will grow and it will be more profitable, which will make your life better and easier and less stressful. So I'm trying to really hammer home the point here. Use this tool. It's completely free. I built it last year. I spent a lot of time on it because I wanted to create something that was just really easy for people to use and understand. And then down at the bottom, actually, I don't have a screenshot of that. It will give you some sort of budget based on how much money you spend on marketing. And it breaks it up between organic, paid, social, branding, and some other channels. So it splits it up because, again, the biggest problem I told you guys we see is people are spending too much money at just the bottom of the funnel. They're not doing enough higher up. So you should only have, in my experience, maybe 2-ish% on like SEO and local search. And then social media should be a certain percentage of that. Branding should be a certain percent of your total marketing budget. All right. So now I know we've gone over a lot. This is actually, it's almost an hour and 45 minutes. And you don't have to share these. If you want to share them, please share them in the chat. What are the top action items that you are going to take from what you learned today and start implementing and focus on in your business? And while you're thinking of those or writing those down, don't leave yet. I got a couple more goodies for you. Carol, yes. This will all be sent in replay so you guys can take screenshots of everything. What do you guys got? What are your top action items? What are you going to focus on after this webinar? And again, that can be rhetorical. You don't have to answer. I'd love to see some people's answers, but you don't have to. Noreen, I love that. Let me know if you need help. Okay. Especially with segmenting the list or figuring out which ones, because you do want to be, you do want to think about what your customer's going through and what they're experiencing. Like if we drop an AC tune-up and it's 40 degrees outside, it's not what they're thinking of. So just things like that. One really good thing, if you want to start with outreach and it's going to get cold in your market, I don't know if it is, take that first slide that we did, take that into a ChatGPT, or unless you want to write your own email, write a very empathetic email with details to your customers and send that email out before it gets cold in your market. It's a great first place to start. Alexandra's going to use VA to set up automations. I love that. I love that. We have several people in our Trade Automation Pros group that do the same thing. The business owner signs up and then they have a VA implement what they want. Aiden is going to focus on Google Business Profile, customer follow-up, personalizing the experience. Love it. Brant, GBP optimization, rewatching this because of the insane value in here. Brant, I will give you a link to book a call if you want. Appreciate you saying that you got a lot of value from this. That means a lot to me because I put a lot of effort into this. Awesome. All right. Now, because I love giving value, I completely reworked this workbook. It has got everything in here. It's like 12 or 13 pages. It's got stuff for AI search. It's got stuff for Google Business Profile, PPC, social media. It's a huge checklist of information. I would highly recommend, of all the resources I shared today, download this one and feel free to share this with friends that have businesses. It doesn't even have to be in the home services space. The goal is to help everyone become a better operator and focus on the things that they can control with their marketing. All right. We covered all this stuff. I don't need to reiterate it. 2 more slides, and then I'll answer any questions that you guys have. For those that don't know, I'm a co-host of Service Business Mastery. We are the #2 rated home service podcast in the home services space. There's a guy named Tommy Mello that we just can't quite seem to overtake for obvious reasons. We can't quite get Damon John or some of the, I think he was talking to Gary Vee on a show yesterday. We can't quite get that level of person on our show, but we have a lot of insightful stuff. We focused a lot on AI, technology, automation, and efficiency enhancements. We also do tell contractor stories and stuff like that for people that have some really cool stories, but that's really where we're focused on. So if you love listening to podcasts, feel free to download and subscribe to that. And then if you want to have a strategy call, feel free to book that. This link will take you right to the form to fill out. And then you'll be able to schedule. Right now, you're lucky you get to schedule with my business partner and lovely wife, Brittany. She's amazing, and she tries to provide probably even more value than I do on these calls because she wants to see everyone succeed. So feel free to schedule that session, and we'll help you out as much as we can. All right. Again, guys, appreciate almost all of you guys that showed up live stayed on. So I really appreciate that, because I know this is by far the longest webinar that I host. Usually by the end of it, my throat is hoarse, and that's why you see me drinking a lot of water. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. So let's go ahead and answer some questions. Looks like Nadine already answered some of them. Aiden asks, is there a way we as contractors can see this ranking map? Yes, there are a lot of tools. So it would be these are all paid tools, Aiden. Local Brand Manager, Local Viking, Bright Local has a local heat map tool, Local Falcon, SEMrush has one. There's other, White Spark has one. So you can get your own tool and track your own rankings. Typically the things that I like to track on these are the highest volume keywords. So things like roofing repair near me, or electrician, or furnace repair, AC repair, things that are really broad and has a lot of search volume. Because if we rank for the hardest to rank keywords, we're going to rank typically for some of the ones that are a little more detailed, word, like 4 or 5 word keywords. So hopefully that helps. Nadine, what other questions do we have? Or did you guys answer them? I know I saw you guys answering some stuff in the chat. All right, Aiden, we're going to go over all your questions. Another question from Aiden. Are there instances where you would sell in Facebook groups, specials, maintenance plans, etc.? I typically did not. One, because I didn't want to get kicked out of the group. Because a lot of those groups have pretty specific rules, because if you start selling there, then they kind of open the door for all the businesses to sell there. And that's why they put they usually stop that. But I wouldn't say no, but it would have to be something like, I'll give you an example. So during holidays, or if you partner with a local food bank or a local charity, and you're giving, let's say if someone buys a tune-up, you're donating $20 to a charity. That is something that I would do, and I would promote in there. Maybe you're giving a free furnace for a veteran in November, or a free service to a veteran, or whatever's relevant to the time of the year we're in. Things like that, I think you can sell in a roundabout way, because you want to get entries for those types of contests and let people know about it. But then also in a roundabout way, you're kind of letting them know, hey, we're doing this great deed for someone locally because we care about the community we live in. So it's not direct selling, but it is selling in a way, because then people are like, oh yeah, I'll sign up for that because I want to donate. If they're going to donate on my behalf to a charity, I'm into that. That's kind of how I would approach it. Aiden also asked, would something like a live stream still fall under content creation and marketing? 100%. So there's actually a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, there's several local companies hosting their own podcasts locally as well. And these are things highlighting business owners in the local community. And now, while that may sound odd, like, hey, I'm a plumber and I'm having a restaurant on my podcast, think of it a little differently. One, you're doing a service to those local business owners. They all have employees, they have family members, they have happy, raving customers that they could refer to your business. So by you highlighting them, you're putting them on a pedestal, and then you're also making a connection where they're going to remember who you are. It's essentially, podcasting has been referred to as like networking on steroids. So that's the approach I would take for my business. But I think if you really enjoy creating content and doing a live stream diagnostic, I think it's a great idea. I think stuff like that could be great for your YouTube channel. And then you can take those YouTube videos and put them on your website. So that way you can get kind of double the value, kind of double dipping a little bit with Google and YouTube. So that there's definitely a good idea. Even if people don't show up, just keep putting the content out there, because it does help. Every little bit helps. Lakeshore asked, if you have 2 locations, what should be done on your website? Great question. So one, make sure both addresses are in the footer of every page of your website. Make sure both addresses and locations are on your contact us or about us page. And then when it comes to the website link that attaches to that location, that's where you want to be really clear of. I'll give an example of Phoenix and Gilbert, just because they're 2 pretty large cities here. So if I want to focus on AC repair and I have 2 locations, I want to have my Phoenix location go to an AC repair page for Phoenix, and then my Gilbert location go to a separate page that's focused on AC repair in Gilbert. So you really want to make sure you don't want to. The mistake I see a lot of times is they'll have multiple locations and they drive everything to the homepage. Well, the homepage isn't optimized or relevant for the primary category and the city that they want to rank in. So that's where I would focus on that. Aiden asked, on the GBP manager page, there is a post button. Should we be posting things like we post here on? Great question, Aiden. I haven't been asked that one in a while. So I would not post the same exact thing. And here's the reason why. First of all, Google is already indexing what you put on Facebook and Instagram if your social media profiles are connected. So the post that should be on Google, think about what people are considering when they go to Google. We talk about the bottom, the decision stage. So they're looking at things like maybe discounts on a service to make a conversion. What services do you offer? Anything special about your company and who you guys are, because they're trying to make a decision. So those posts could help them, could tip a decision in your factor. I wouldn't post things like the training you do or the social things, because it's not relevant to the audience on that channel. And that's where marketing really starts getting complex, is every channel has a part to play in the overall marketing funnel. So Facebook and Instagram should be social. It should be fun. And it should be for awareness and consideration. Google is about decision making. So we want to focus on decisions. The other thing you could post on Google is repost your 5-star reviews. So Google reviews that you get, turn those into a post and repost them for double the value. Brant asks, we are looking at rebranding in the future. How much paid marketing would you do? Would you wait until a rebrand before doing much marketing? That's a really hard question to answer. I would say before you invest in like a new website and new things like that, I would do the rebrand. I know this really isn't part of the question you asked, but I would definitely give Kongify a look. They do great brands for, it's more cost effective. I'll just say that. And the guy that started Kongify has been from the Home Service Society. He's a great guy. So, but either way, you still have goals to hit. So if you're waiting till fall to do that, you still have goals to hit. So I wouldn't say do no marketing or pull back on marketing. Because you still got a goals to hit. Otherwise, you're not going to have money or revenue or profit for you to reinvest in branding. So I would still focus on growing with local SEO and social media and some paid ads if you need it. But the other thing you could do to really focus on saving as much profit as possible is focusing on your existing customers. I don't know what your existing customer database looks like, but focus on that so you don't necessarily have to go out and get new customers until you're ready to rebrand. So you can save some money that way and put some money aside. No, Aiden, great question. I think I saw this one earlier in chat. You cannot be too hungry for reviews. Like I said earlier, the biggest thing is that, one, don't annoy the crap out of somebody. Like if you're asking in home and you send an automation as soon as a job is completed, and then maybe follow up like a day later and 3 days later, that's probably about as far as I'd go. But if you ask in home and you do it the right way and you do it while you're filling out your invoice or and make it a win for you guys, usually the customers will say yes. And you just, hey, you can like leave, you can literally give them the link or have a QR code or whatever and have them scan it right there. Why, hey, would you mind doing that while I'm back in the truck, putting the invoice together or whatever, or putting the plate or the, oh goodness, I can't think of the term right now, but the plate back on the furnace or putting everything back together, cleaning up my workstation. You can do that and have them leave the review while you're still on site. It's probably the best way to do it. Hi, Dee. Good question. Do you have any ideas for marketing to people who don't live in our area but visit for vacation? We service a lake and our ideal clients are houseboat owners and renter. The challenge is that the lake is inside a national park, so we're not allowed to advertise within park boundaries. That is a very unique case. There's really only a couple other markets I've ever ran across where I had conversations like this, like the Hamptons, where it's a big area where people go in the summer. If there is a certain time, I'm assuming because they live there, maybe you can't put up like billboards or yard signs, but you should be able to do some direct mail directly to those people when they get there. And if that's not allowed, obviously that's not ideal. But the other thing you could do is, so I'll give you an example of what we do on trade shows. So if you guys go to trade shows, most likely you see our ads. And what we do is we geofence that area. So only people that are inside of whatever that geofenced area are going to see our ads. So it allows us to keep kind of our costs down, but only really specifically target a certain general area. So there's a couple ways that you can do that. Those would be some of the ways right off the top of my head that I would focus on, is just be really strategic on those things. So get that postcard to them right before they get there, or right as they get in town when they're setting up their house for the summer, and then geofence some advertising. You can geofence on more platforms than just Facebook. It's just the one that we use the most. Great question, though. I hope that was helpful for you. Cool. All right, guys. My throat needs a break. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we'll get the replay out probably by tomorrow. So if you don't see that, feel free to reach out to Nadine at relentless-digital.com. She will get that to you. Just give her a day to put it together and get the recording, and we'll get that out to you. Thanks, guys.